and welcome to Joseph's Model Railway and Toy Room. Thank you as always for joining me. A bit of housekeeping. You don't need to like, follow or subscribe. Just put the videos out there where I can. Have a holly jolly great time doing so. Now, today's video, I promise it will be quick, but a very important one, especially to any of you that, and I still use the word niche hobby, that are doing a model airport of some description. Now, two parts to do with this video today. The first one is, we have a new jet that's been a very, very long time coming. Not per se for the jet itself, mostly the carrier, which is the Cathay Pacific, and we have the Airbus A350-1000. Where is it? It's actually over there. We'll come in and we're going to have a chat about that in just a moment. Now, the other part of this video we're going to be talking about today is the maintenance if you have one of these model airports. So first of all, let me just quickly step you through the brand new jet that we have and see what we've got. Right, so in here, in a rather truly unrealistic location for it to be, we do have, of course, our magnificent Cathay Pacific A350-1000 with the registration of B-LXA. Now, I can't tell you too much about this model as in who the manufacturer is or where it's from. It's certainly not an NG model. It's not a Gemini. It's not a Phoenix, Dragon Wings, or other that I know at the moment. But those of you who know about this model can probably fill in the details for me. Now, I've said this has been a long time coming. I've always been a big fan of Cathay Pacific and always wanted to have one of their magnificent white-bodied, long, streamlined fuselage types of jets on the tarmac. Now, the thing about it is that certainly if we go back maybe just to the 90s and or early 2000s, Cathay Pacific, along with Singapore Airlines, was certainly one of the dominant names where certainly anywhere I would be, you would see 3 or 4 of these. And usually it would be the 777. But there was something just so iconic about the white with this slight shade of green here that really was incredible. And just like Singapore Airlines, always had a consistent reputation. Although there have been a few challenges just in the recent years though, Cathay Pacific still holds itself as a fantastic carrier. They have a top quality service, a fantastic first class, business and economy. It's one of the carriers I would personally rather be on than some of the others. I'll be careful there and not mentioning any names. I don't want to add any discrimination, but I think if you do your homework on some airlines and services they offer and generally what you're going to find, it's probably one of the more premium types of carriers, although perhaps that has changed. Now, I can honestly vouch for that I have never flown on Cathay Pacific ever, but I have other family members who have and have said it's been absolutely top rate. So in which case, we finally have one. And of course, we do have the A350-1000. So here it is. It's the extra long version. So unlike the previous video you saw before, which saw us comparing the A350-900, you can certainly see it definitely does have that additional length in it. I don't want to talk too much about this. I mean, obviously, this is certainly the worthy replacement to something like our 747, certainly in the more recent years. It's an ultra long-range carrier that's going to get people everywhere they need to be. And, of course, expect to see this as the deliveries start to become more fulfilled. We'll see more and more of this from offered by all the key carriers we would expect. Compared to the NG models, really there isn't all that much to it. There's a little more refinement in the NG, but I can't really, and as what we're going to be looking at here with the camera, I mean, the detail around the cockpit area, the nose cone and antenna and what have you that is there, cargo loadings respectively. Everything looks quite good. The winglets, details across the bottom. Again, NG has just a few more extra additional markings, but look, we still indeed do get our antenna and the alike. It's just a wonderful jet. I really do love this at the moment. I'm still not sure where its forever home is going to be per se just yet. I have all the best intentions of rotating the jets around accordingly, but I've always wanted a Cathay Pacific one, and I think this super streamlined long body really does just give it the perfect canvas to look at home on this airport here at the moment. So what we're going to do though, for the moment though, is we're going to put it back in a place where it clearly would not belong, but we're not going to get into the debating about the scaling and sizes of where we're putting some of these jets at the moment. It's just what's going to fit for a display purpose walking past, and to be fair, 90% of all people walking in this room really would just say, oh, cool model airport, and really not really giving much detail to the scale and what we're trying to achieve. So the second part of this video is about maintaining a model airport. Now, let's just take a moment to appreciate, if you have a model airport or are considering building one, this is still somewhat of a niche hobby. Now, I know there are plenty of planes to be collected, and there are a lot of enthusiasts like me out there on the forums and things like that, and putting YouTube videos out. But for the most part, it is reasonably niche. I'm quite confident that if I take a trip into town now, apart from going to the local department store and picking up a plastic toy model plane, we're certainly not going to find many metal body construction ones, let alone in the different scales, whether you be doing 1 to 200, 1 to 400, or perhaps you're going into something a bit smaller from Herpa, as we know, would have been a better choice for me. Now, I say a better choice, but looking down at the view I'm looking at with all the tails of all the airliners, yes, that really does look good now, doesn't it? So the point about being a niche model is we're not all using standardized ways of displaying it. I mean, this is a tremendous example. I'm on 2 levels, and I certainly don't know of any airports in the world that are set up in a 2-way configuration, although a lot of ramps and configuration, you could truthfully achieve what we've done, but it's not really what is prototypically seen. But to make the display fit into the room, it works well. Now, other people, including our good friend Sam Chewy, who is a great aviation enthusiast that we see on the YouTube videos, who gets to experience and is flying and getting access to a lot of wonderful things, has his own model airport. And we see a lot of people that have created some rather feature ones that have then put their own perspex cover or something over it to minimize the dust and all of that. But unlike a model railway where you can get some standard types of layout options, sort of like your 4x6 foot or 4x8 foot standard sort of oval, which a lot of us in the model railway community are very used to, you can sort of quickly get cabinets and things designed up to house it. In this case, not so. However, if you're going to put some perspex on it, like we've done with our Lego models at the top, it's a great move. It's going to save you a lot of time. But for those that haven't, like me, here we are. So my top tips for maintaining your airport. The first one is, of course, we've got our static grass and things that have been laid down. Now, you could just come over with a quick tickle with the vacuum cleaner, fix that up, no worries all, or a little brush and away you go. The best thing is, where possible, if you can keep it covered up, great. But of course we want to see it, so it is what it is. For those of you that want to go to some more extreme lengths, please check out one of my earlier videos regarding minimizing dust in a room. But for a lot of us, that's going to be a bit extreme. So the next thing is, we need to keep our runways nice and clean. And in this case, it's as simple as just taking a cloth, maybe a feather duster, microfiber cloth is what I would use. Just come along and just give it a bit of a dust. You could put an application of Mr. Sheen or something like that on there. I would be reluctant to do much at all because I've got the openings for where our taxiway lights are. If we get moisture in there, and of course this is then therefore sitting on a treated MDF panel, even though I treated it, I would hate for moisture to come in and start bubbling it. So I think just keeping it dry and giving it a good dust, you'll be fine. And I know it's going to be frustrating. The next part, you know, I'm going to say to you is you will need to remove all of your aircraft and ground service equipment off to give it all a good dust. Now, to be fair, this particular model has never had a clean since the day I made it. But to be fair, while we've been busy with the model railway, it has stayed covered up. However, when it is time to do a bit of intricate work and things like that, particularly if you've got some sections that have been glued into place and can't move them easily, I mentioned a vacuum cleaner before, but for a few dollars more, you can buy an attachment kit. A lot of us now are using stick vacuum cleaners like your Dysons and things like that. However, you can buy a pretty cheap vacuum cleaner for about $20 to $50 and then buy one of these attachment kits where you can attach to the hose. You've got the finer one where you can have a brush like I have here. And it makes great use of getting into tight areas that you can't necessarily take off and just give a clean. Excellent for getting around detail of planes and things like that. So I really do think, and we're going to do quite an extensive video about maintaining your model railway a fair way down the track. But one of these things can be very, very useful. Comes with different attachments as well. Plug it in, away you go. Most importantly, with a lot of the new, and especially with shop vacs, you don't always get the control to sort of dial in how much pressure's going on. So sometimes you can put it down, it just wants to suck the whole thing off. So very, very handy, well worth checking that out. The other biggest thing about it is, apart from taking the planes off every now and then, taking a little toothbrush or something and going over them, it's a very good thing to do. Now, I don't know if you can see it in the shop, but there is an A350-500 Emirates jet that's just being pushed out at the moment. Now that particular jet has been on display for a very long time, certainly before the airport, in a rather humid doorway in the tropical climate here. So as a result, it's picked up some nasties along the way. And even with a good toothbrush and the rest, it has started to decay a little bit. There's not much I can do about it, but it is worth trying to keep them clean where you can. The other great thing that I think is very imperative, in fact, I would almost set a reminder up on your phone every year to say, if you're leaving the batteries or however you're doing your air ground field lighting system, in my case, as I demonstrated, I've got a battery pack, swap your batteries out. I only say it because recently, even the premium cost Energizer batteries, even though they're still within all their dates, leak. So take them out, particularly if you're not going to use it for an extended time. This is still the original batteries that were placed in here when I've done it. I've even left the room a few times overnight where I left them on and the lights are still on. So when it comes to the endurance of all these lights being powered by a few AA batteries, how long will they last? More than long enough if you want to display it all day and all night for a particular occasion. So please do rotate those batteries as necessary and replace. The final tip is probably the most valuable, and we're going to need to get you in nice and close on this to see what the problem is and how you can avoid it. Our problem lies over here with this particular model. Now, you can't see the problem because we need to zoom in. You still can't see the problem. Well, I think that's as close as we need to go. Whenever you've had a jet like this staying on the tarmac here for quite some time, one tip I need to give you is when it's time to lift it off, I would always give it a little bit of a jiggle left and right, because otherwise you may find it will stick. And if we come in nice and close now, you can see what's happened. Remember, these models do have some weight to them. And in time, what's obviously happened here, it's just literally just embedded down onto the tarmac. It's not the end of the world for me, because I always wanted a plane that is literally coming in here and going to follow the greens as it's landed and coming in, which is particularly why I've got this particular Qatar one here that's got the flaps that have been extended down at the moment. Perhaps it's because it's about to take off, but more likely it's come in for that landing. So that's kind of why it's here. It's come in, it's starting to retract them up as it turns in to head off to the terminal. But unfortunately, this is a little bit serious. Now, I did also notice it happening on one of the others, so it's well worth just making sure you give things a little jiggle now and then. There's a high chance during the storage when I had the sheet over this, there may have been some additional weight being placed on it. But this is a Gemini Jets model, and for all good reasons, this has a substantial amount of weight in it. So for that reason and more, it's not a bad idea maybe just to move your jets, even if it's just a little bit forwards, backwards, something, just to realign the pressure and take it off with those little wheels. Remember, these are not rubber tires in the real world. It is plastic, and it's just a bit of a shame that it's decided to do that. There's no join or anything under the board. I'm not quite sure. It's just what has happened. Well, girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been absolutely wonderful sharing with you some of my tips for maintaining an airport. I hope you managed to take just something away from that. And we get to see that wonderful Cathay Pacific A350-1000. As always, you know the drill. Stay safe. We'll see you in the next one. Toodles.